it's a little bit more explained on this sheet here. You know, it's not as easy as me just moving the machines. I have to draw up the floor plan, I have to take it to the Carroll County Election Board. Once that's approved, I have to send it to the state. The state has to approve the setup. Then it has to go to 2 public hearings, within the county for anyone that is a voter that wants to have input. And then that has to be approved, and then we have to pass it as an election board. So it's a long process to just move the tables. It has to be all done.
But you have to do this every year though, right?
No, once the floor plan is made, you're done. You don't have to redo. This floor plan was made back in, I was gonna ask Andrea for the date, and I'm not sure, but it was done prior to when Andrea was clerk, Clerk Miller. That's when that floor plan was done. So the only thing that's changed is the number of machines that sat on the table. They used to do 3 machines on the tables, but because of the pandemic last year, they cut that down to 2 to keep the space in between. But that didn't require anything additional, because you're taking a machine away and just moving it down. But the locations were the same. The wait times, if I go from 8 machines down to 4 machines, you're gonna have a line. We had lines this year, not too terribly bad, but we did have some wait times.
So you're saying you only put 4 machines in this one area now, 78?
As it's currently drawn, the 2 black circles, that's where 2 tables would sit with 2 machines at each table.
You couldn't use that corner down here to the lower left of the TV?
Well,
Because if we do this, they'll have to rewire the whole basement anyway. So we'll have to have a new electrical tank.
right, but if you see at the upper left-hand corner, that's the entry point.
Right.
So I can't have you walking in this way and machines facing this way, because then you can see the machines as people are voting.
You couldn't face it towards the wall, put a gap between the wall and the machine.
There's not that much space between, I mean, then you've got people walking up the stairs. Are you talking this lower left-hand corner? Yeah, that's right at the stairs that go down
Right.
and back up into the courthouse. It's just it could be done, but there's gonna have to be something put there, and you're only gonna get 1 table down there. You're only gonna get 1 table, and then you've got the cords. So the cords are either gonna go beside a voter, or they're gonna have to step over the cords to get to the machine. Unless you're gonna put another freestanding something right in front of it like the poles are now. Right now, there's no cords that anyone's stepping over, around, there's no cords. They drop directly down and plug in. And there's 1 machine per outlet.
That's the entryway to the other side, I think that.
Yeah, the state will not allow that. But there can be no entry point.
Right, I mean, that could be eliminated.
Yes.
But if you eliminate the second one, then that means that the other stairway, which would be on the bottom right down there, which is not in use now, will have to be used, because you can't have that area with only 1
Well-
entrance and 1 exit for this area.
Right, they would have to go,
Use the stairway down here.
there is no stairway on their side. They would have to go out the upper right
There's a
hand.
stairway there, it's just.
Yeah, the stairway is there.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I've never
We
seen
just
it.
haven't used it for
Okay,
ever since I've been around.
okay. I did not
I think
know
it
there
just
was a
goes to
stairway there. Okay.
No, it goes, those were the 2 entrances into the auditorium at one time,
Okay.
but I can't swear, what's on the other side?
It's covered with plywood right now.
There's a what?
It's covered with plywood right now. There's
Yeah.
an actual covering over.
That's what I was remembering, yeah.
Also with the people that we get the machines from, ES&S, her concern was, right now, we are not storing the machines, the way we're supposed to be storing the machines. Right now, they're in a room that is very humid. It's flooded 3 times since 2020. Thankfully, the machines are up on a wooden storage thing, up about 2 inches. If they were sitting on the floor, we would have had 38 machines at 5,000 a pop room. So they're not being stored correctly, even according to the manufacturers of the equipment. And it has been talked about since Andrea was here and since we got that equipment, something was going to be built in the museum to house this equipment. And that's still not been addressed. And it's,
Well, it was addressed, I kind of shot that down, because we didn't know what we was gonna do with this. 7 buildings.
but I mean, you know, we're
$4,000
you know,
just changed the title.
that's quite a large sum of money, and it comes out of my budget if I have to replace one of those. And I don't have money to replace 38 machines at 5,000 a machine.
I believe that's the issue.
They have to pay it?
I believe that's, was,
Okay.
I don't know that they have to pay it, but I think that was a commissioner's purchase.
Okay.
But can I ask a question? When you're talking about tables with 4 machines, are those for disabled or is that for regular voting?
We do regular voting. There's no stands that these can go on. The first year that we had them, they were using those blue little freestanding things. And ES&S had a fit. They're not, they weren't made for those machines, and they're not heavy enough, if a good bump, and the machine goes off. So they weren't made for those machines, and we were told not to use them. It would,
So you're putting your, I don't know what they're called, but
yes, our express boats.
yeah, we use carnivals, put them
Yep.
on tables.
Yes, there's one on one end of the table, there's a good sized space between them, and then one on the other end of the table. Maintaining the 6 feet apart. And that was the other thing that we had talked about is, you know, we were limited on the space with it being 6 feet apart and this and that. This time, if you cut that space, there's never gonna be any more than 4 machines in there. And unless you really reconfigure that whole room. Because if you have to maintain the 6 feet, which now eliminates anyone coming in to stand in line in inclement weather. If it's pouring down rain, if it's snowing, if it's just 140 degrees outside, everyone has to stand outside. Now, it's able that we can bring them in and start a line within the building. But you will be eliminating that. And with the 1 entry, you do take the risk that someone's put the ballot in the machine. If they vote, the ballot prints back out, which is actually their ballot. But some people think that that's like their receipt, so they carry it out the door. Which means they have not voted and my voter counts are off. And now I've gotta try to figure out why I have 150 voters, but I only have 148 ballots.
That's where you put a guard at the door.
I don't have the financial means to put someone out the door.
You don't have anybody that watches that?
We have 2.
Judges or your clerks?
We have 2 people for early voting, and they have to both be sitting at the table. Unless I would have to employ another person to stand at the door, and that's not really,
Yes.
Well, the clerk was talking, it seemed like you all were having a discussion. And I
That's right.
wonder if, you know, the public could be privy to that discussion.
Oh, sure. We were just talking about, again, about whether the stage should come out, whether, the round stage down there that probably has not been used in 50, 60 years, could be knocked out. it's just concrete, I suppose. But how that this whole configuration here can't be used. Because it has to have a second doorway, which would take out the two bottom rooms that they have down there, as they're done. That's what we were talking about. Any more question on that?
I guess what I'm seem to understanding is that you're still trying to fit the prosecutor's office or double homicide investigation in with the vote center. You're still
We're just
trying,
trying to make sure we still got room to vote if we put investigation. Which hopefully if we get it solved soon, then we can clear all this out and then they can have it all back.
No, wait a minute. Run that one by me again.
If it gets solved,
Yeah,
then we can give her all that.
so we're gonna tear all this back out again?
It's only gonna be temporary anyway.
No, it has to
They
be
also said
permanent.
that it would,
Yeah.
if they did solve it tomorrow, there would be 2 more years. That was-
It's either 2 more years.
Correct.
Correct. At least.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a permanent wall that can't be manipulated,
Right.
because that,
Yeah, we just put the anchors in.
And it has to go clear the ceiling. so
has to go
nobody
clear
can
the
come from
ceiling,
top.
no entry points, and it has to go clear the ceiling for security.
Okay, and I have a comment in the back. Yes, sir, Mr. Burke.
Yes, it's my understanding that the county has the option to rent, 106 and 108 Main Street. The upstairs is vacant, and, I just wonder if that shouldn't be considered rather than doing this permanent wall and all that. And, you know, a lot of counties have taken the buildings around the courthouse and included them, like Tippecanoe County did that with the Lowe building. You know, and not only is it an option to lease it currently to satisfy the needs fairly quickly, but it's a long-term possibility to purchase it. And I just thought it might be wise for the county's money to go towards buying some more room, because obviously this courthouse is not ever gonna be expanded. And so something very close like that would be, it seems like to me would make sense.
I've talked to them down there, I don't think they wanted that upstairs, it'd take a lot more money to re-renovate it than it would to do what we're doing now, and, if we do the base for the museum. Well, let's hear from Mr. Rowland.
All right. You wanna hear from Mr. Baldwin?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Throwing a wrench on our plan.
Well, thank you for taking the opportunity to make this consideration. We're in desperate need of some place to go. The investigation is progressing, something is happening all the time. We need a space to be able to continue the investigation at. I'm willing to I made this drawing off of some recommendations that you relayed to me rather. And first of all, let me say in respect to the door that goes between the investigation area and the area to be used by the clerk's office for voting, I think that could be easily solved by putting a lock for them and a lock for us. The deadbolt lock key on both sides. She'd only have the key during voting times, and then the rest of the time she'd leave it unlocked. We'd lock it for our own purposes. So at least we'd be able to get out and go to the bathroom to the courthouse instead of go outside, find a way to the restroom or whatever, if that makes sense. So do you understand what I'm talking about there?
But there's a stairway there too.
Precisely, there is a stairway there, and I need some direction about that. Whether that's something you wanna tear out, which could easily be done. It could be done and then filled in with concrete, and just made all one flat area. Which would awkwardly let us more
You
space
have
to
to have
use.
2 entries in and out, because she can't have that doorway.
And then the alternative is, as you say, to open that area up so we could make an exit there, either way. But I need some direction about what you guys wanna do. I have prepared another alternate drawing. I don't know if I want to make sure you guys can get it. It's about the same. Bill.
do you have one for me?
One for Deb.
Thanks.
And it's roughly the same, in the sense that, that door area back there for the stages, that right now being used as storage. I left the door in there and it's specified to be a 36-inch steel door, commercial door, so that we can make sure that it's secure and keyed on both sides, with 2 locks, so that we can make sure that it's secure. It still shows the stairway going out for the clerk's office, but I would need some direction from you if you want to use that or put another door in, where the exit is at. It's not there currently on the north side of the stage. But as you can see, the page attached shows that I've asked for quotes from a couple of, actually 3 different locations, and quotes haven't come in yet to find out kind of average what cost it might be, so we can make a decision moving forward. I know we're coming up on the September 30th time where we need to be out at the city building, and so I want to try to expedite this and make it easy for you to make the decision as quickly as possible. And that's your service in that sense. If I can do anything at all to help, I just want to try and make sure that we get this moving so that we'll have someplace to put our files. We have about 8 filing cabinets with information in them that need to be moved, and we're continually going through that information to make sure that it's all prepared in the event that we have to go to trial or there's a case, the case progresses to that. So I need your direction as quickly as you can possibly give it to me.
Just on your drawing here, does these go up to the, I see it says 8-foot ceiling, but does your walls go clear to our ceiling?
Absolutely, yes, I recognize there is a need for security both for the voting and for us as well. So the ceiling wall, the wall at the south side of our addition would go all the way to the ceiling, and it would hit the, I think it's like an I-beam there at the top in that area. It hit that I-beam, reducing it about 13 feet tall, something like that. So, and then in the lobby area, where we would have people come in to the north side, we'd also draw a wall, or ask the wall be all the way to the ceiling. In that case, it's roughly 14 to 16 feet tall. So we make sure that that area is blocked off. I do have a concern about a suspended ceiling in that area. I'm a little apprehensive about drawing anchors into the existing ceiling for a suspended ceiling, attach wires to hold it, if that makes sense. So the contractors that I've talked to are kind of trying to contemplate a way to make sure that the suspended ceiling would be held up by some other means without having to draw those anchors through the ceiling, if that makes sense to you. So that may be, as someone had suggested, I thought, that we put some type of storage area up there, or we put a loft area which would support that ceiling.
So, this, on your sheet here on the bottom there, where you got the storage there on part of the stage, we can knock all that stage out,
Yes.
and you can still make access on that stairway. Would that make an issue?
The only issue that we would have is for us with making sure that that door, the door down there now currently is just like the one on the other side. It's a wooden door with a glass in it. And
Well, we can-
that, you want
Bars or something?
bars, or perhaps take that entire area out and put another steel door in
Still
there.
doing? I think that could be feasible.
That would be
Your
extremely
second
feasible.
one.
And we could save the doors in case we were restored to its original condition sometime later. You know, minutes of it, however you want to try and do it. The other concern, of course, was the electrical. I talked to some contractors about that. I think when we originally came up with a plan for the prosecutor's office to go down there, we had decided that we would need to go to another service box in the basement itself.
Have it on the box.
Have its own 200 amp service, or 100 amp service, whether it would turn, and run all the wiring through that. And along the wall there, as you can see, I put outlets. We can obviously add more outlets for the voting machines. And in the renovation process of this, we could probably install more outlets along the rest of the walls, if that's something you want to do, to make sure that they have adequate power supply for their voting machines.
Lauren, what do you think?
Well, it's not stage out, we would be doing 4 machines here, 2 more libraries.
stage wasn't there.
Just so you're not having a voting machine behind a voting machine.
Right.
They all have to be in a line of some sort so that someone standing behind voting at their machine can't see the person voting in front of them. I mean, we have side blocks, but obviously there's no way to get a back block. I mean, side to side, we have something to block.
Put one there next to the investigator's wall, and then under by this wall, and then we use that wall here.
And
That's 1, 2, 3 extra, plus 4 centimeters.
And as far as the door goes, the door is a no. There cannot be a door, period. And that's coming from the state election board in Indianapolis.
Well, how do we get away with it in the churches and stuff? When we do, when we get the churches and stuff?
They have.
They're the only ones that are there at the time.
They also have 2 ways out.
Right, you have
Down
it.
there, you have to have 2 ways out.
I mean, our voters will have to come in and out the same door. They can't go down the stairs and back up the stairs to exit the courthouse,
Well, that's the way it
because
was.
it's not ADA
Well, that's the way
acceptable,
it was
or
done.
accessible.
Well, we gotta do something, we gotta have it today, I hate to say that.
I would let the door be a big consideration, we can remove that and do the stairway if you wish, that would be a problem, at least for as far as drawing that in. I think, I don't know, as far as the cost, what would that would add to it, but, you know, if we take the stage out, it would just be a natural process, maybe using that door and changing the configuration of the existing door to a steel door which provide more security for the center.
Did you, this is, I'm trying to think of all things here. You looked at the building out here that's owned by Dairy Queen, right?
Yes, we did.
What is the problem with that building? Is it just too over decrepit or,
The facility out there at Dairy Queen is a lease only right now, sir.
say that again?
Lease only.
Yeah,
They only wanna lease it to us, when we talked to them, we asked them to look at the option, at the end of it, of doing an option to buy. They're willing to talk to us about that, so when we were having the discussions, we said, could you put a dollar amount at the end of that lease?
they wouldn't do that.
They wouldn't do that. I also asked, when we were out there, could you give us a dollar amount to buy it straight out? And they weren't interested in selling it straight out to us. So right now, it's a 5-year lease at, if we wanted to do it, a 5-year lease at $6,500.
6,500 what?
$6,500 a month, $6,500.
Yeah,
That's for the 3 buildings.
$80,000 a year.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
For a building that they haven't got anything out of for a long time. It just seems not touching down on reality to me, but.
$70,000 a year. Then we have to add to it.
Yeah, we have to modify the
And
structures.
then there's still some modifications that we would have to do for the investigation and then also for, the coroner's office that you talked about putting there as well.
If we leave it stays or
Or retear the park.
I have had some experience on building something, remodeling like this. I don't see any possibility this is gonna be done by September 30th.
Well, gentlemen, that is the other issue.
What's that?
All the contractors that I've talked to so far are busy.
Yeah.
At least until,
At least one I've heard possibly November, but they get all the quotes for what I've asked for, and nothing in there. So,
Well, I just, you Yeah, that was a side of it I didn't think of, but just looking at these, this drawing, yes,
Just an idea, I'm throwing out an
Sure.
idea too. So with the county home, would there ever be a need in the future for them to have some sort of building out there? That if we did something out there on our own grounds, county grounds, after this is all wrapped up, they could utilize the structure afterwards?
what was the last sentence you said?
That they could utilize after this investigation's over, it'll already be on our county property, get a pre-constructed building. I don't know what the renovation's gonna be, probably tens of thousands of dollars or whatever, but you could,
It's gonna be very, very expensive.
you could get a building that's already pre-constructed. And I'm just throwing out ideas too, just still on county grounds.
Well, the thing is, the security in case people don't break in and so on, it'd be kinda hard to get into the courthouse, in my opinion. Compared to being out there. I think that's the biggest concern is the security and safety.
It is absolutely a concern. There's a lot of social media traffic about curiosity, about the investigation, what's going on, what's happening. We don't know what the possibility of somebody making an intrusion into the investigation center to try to determine what's going on, that we need to guard against that possibility at some cost.
So are you replacing the doors down there now, the entry doors?
Are you talking about the door at the stairwell?
No,
Oh, you mean the outside door?
yes.
I would like to see something a little bit more secure there.
But I mean, that's just glass now. I
It is
mean,
glass right
you
now.
can-
Yeah, I'd like to see something more.
Talking
would be
security.
The cheapest way to do that would be to have, like, go down to
On the
the
north
gate,
side,
to go down on, across the front of it.
that'd be an option.
Do you have a question or comment?
I did. Commissioner Pearson said that he felt like you needed to do something today, make some sort of decision today, right?
Right.
And Investigator Mullins said he has had no estimates of what this is gonna cost. Nobody's gotten back to him. Isn't that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought,
Right,
just
right,
checking to make
sure,
sure,
yeah.
yeah. So, how could you make a decision if you don't know the cost?
We can give him the go-ahead to get them to us, and we can need a special session.
I think that'd be acceptable motion. I can work with that, give me some direction of what you want, whether you wanna ditch the idea of putting a door between the investigation center and the election area, and proceed with tearing out the stage and putting in a door there at the bottom. That'd give me a lot more clarity in being able to make a quote for someone.
Is there a top dollar that you won't go above paying? Would you be willing to
That would be a
bond?
reasonable way to look at it.
Well,
Say
I mean,
this
would you be
real
willing to
quick.
bond for this? I don't know, I mean, I'm just throwing things out,
I can say,
sorry.
When I had looked at the entire area as being the prosecutor's office, we had asked for a quote for that. Granted, that was back in 2020, okay, before lumber went through the ceiling, but lumber is coming back down. And that quote ended up being somewhere close to $130,000, $40,000. Please don't hold me to that. At this point, I have no idea, but that was for the entire area and the removal of the stage as well.
Did that include rejiggering the electricity?
That did include
Okay.
rejiggering the electricity.
Perhaps that's not the right term.
That's not bad.
Been watching Eureka.
We can't go overboard. I mean, it's gonna cost 25, 30,000 easily. But then you have to put a priority on it, and then doing a priority for them to leave one job and come to another job, that's gonna cost.
May not be able to if they're under contract with another job.
Haven't we heard the figure could be up to $200,000? I mean, I've heard that.
I would think it would be
Before
that.
now.
We had to figure out where we're gonna go for the ceiling and keep the existing, facade in the area down there, but we were to put suspended ceilings and it came a little less than that, so. 847,000 was what they quoted back then.
That was for the entire area.
Right.
And the only option we have is the basement, is what the original plan they had. Move all the health department stuff out and put them in, there. Use them. But he needs direction to go because it's to the time where
I just also want you to keep in mind that my software company that we have the machines from, they have not directly said that, but they could come pull our machines. Because
They
we are,
what?
they could come pull our machines. We are not storing them the way that they are to be stored. And they've been telling us that since we've had them. So that,
Sharon, one of the things that I personally would like to not see is this just become one big storage area.
oh, absolutely, I don't want that either. I absolutely don't want that either.
What would happen if we would just build something this high? You said they're only up this high, so we put them up 2 feet in the air.
There, it's the humidity that's also in there, it's right at the boiler. The boiler, I mean, you open that door, no matter, I mean, it's,
There's the main line that runs.
yeah, it's the main line that runs through there. So, I mean, it's 100+ degrees in there, a lot. And then the moisture because of that, and then, they might
What
have,
room are we
the-
talking about? Cause the boilers are over here, you're
it's
over
one of
here,
the
right?
pipes, yeah, it's one of the main pipes that
The
goes
main
up.
pipe, just that main pipe runs down through there and then it runs across through my office and that as well. And it does
It's
get
like
cooked.
2 doors, 3 doors down from
It's
his
3
hall.
doors down. Used to be the, polygraph room.
When it did flood, that's when they put them up on the,
What,
and then when they did, it did flood, they put them up on, they just,
on the wood shelves.
yeah, what are they really called?
Pallets?
Pallets, there you go. But that was all that was ever done.
put them up on pallets.
Right.
Seems like it'd be a good idea to put them up on pallets to start with, rather than wait
Right.
until it floods.
I agree. I'm just asking, you know where you have we started off by, with the files for the court cases? It used to be the old kitchen down there.
Yes.
Is there room in there to put your equipment?
I don't, it's been a while since, you're talking one right as you come off the elevator, on the, or loop right around?
No,
Yeah, down there.
by the
where-
training room, the,
Okay.
the other,
Where they used to be stored.
no,
Before they took
not
over
even
that
there.
room.
Well, we
That,
had
that's
to move them
closer,
because they
that
had to
one,
be
and
on
then you go
cameras and
into
stuff
that other
like that.
room where all the files are.
There's
You have
no
to-
room in where the files are now, and we do have that other caged area that are now files. I mean, I do have like,
What I was gonna suggest, is there any way to move a couple of those out to where you have your files now, and then use that room for your election equipment?
I'm not sure with
Might
it
just
being,
look
I'm
into
not
it.
sure with it being a caged area, if it would be considered,
It's beyond the door.
Would they fit in this room right here? Next to us?
just the equipment. Possibly if, I mean, I don't know if I could get it, I don't know if I could get it all in there, cause some of them are like, they look like huge trash cans, and I have like 5 of those. So I don't know, I've not been in there to,
2 different rooms. There's this room and then the recorder's room. It's got open space.
well, I was told I wasn't allowed in the recorder's room or the prosecutor's room, that's both back there. They wouldn't let me,
And another, getting back to this thing that I'm thinking about is on one hand, we're talking about a need to build something temporarily to get into. This does not look like a temporary situation to me. But I think we're kinda naive if we think that this is never gonna happen to us again, we're never gonna need this kind of space. we need to have,
You have investigators on that,
in other words, I'm sorry, but what I'm saying is, once this comes in, it's never coming out. This is gonna be here forever. Is that, it's needed forever.
I think you bring a good point, in the sense that, the only interview room that we have, where we can conduct criminal interviews, is in the city of Delphi. They have an interview room. We constructed one upstairs, and they went upstairs at the city building for the homicide investigation. But other than that, we have a squad room at the sheriff's department, where all the guys do their paperwork, and they keep everything in that office, where we take people and talk to them. It's extremely impossible to hold someone's attention and conduct an interview in that area. We have, the sheriff's department has no place. There is no place in Delphi, other than the city of Delphi, to be able to conduct interviews. This center at least offers us, for us, right away, for the interview, for the homicide investigation, 2 interview rooms. Certainly would be something that the rest of the officers could utilize if we had a need to do that, or we could use not only this, the homicide investigation, but for other cases that are, need somewhere to talk to somebody at. So, you're right.
If it's
Something
not
can-
used for the Abbey Libby.
If it's not being used for Abbey Libby investigation at that moment, we could adjust it and use it for something else, certainly, at any moment, actually. It's gonna be a problem.
Even if the
Even,
investigation.
well, I mean, obviously, investigation takes priority if it's being used for that at the moment, but we can make this work for our investigations, certainly would, because, it'd be an opportunity for us to have somebody, somewhere to talk to someone at to interview. With the Abbey Lib investigation, we need a space to be able to keep our information, and a secure area where we can discuss and continue to work on the investigation. The city of Delphi has been generous enough to allow, us to use that facility for, 4 years now? And even then, we have to share it. I mean, the city police department has a interview, or a property room upstairs in that area. So occasionally somebody has to come in and work on the phones. Like another repair issue that happens in that area, so it's not exactly the most secure. This would offer us at least an area where we could put things on the wall and put a dry erase board up and leave things.
You would be doing that in the conference room here?
Yes.
Cause now when you take it all down, put it all back up.
Yeah, we have to do that, because we need to make sure the information is,
Well, if we do the big, or if we do this where we're talking it now, we'll have to eliminate that door to be in compliance with the building. Cause then we'll have to do the stairway going to, that's over here by the stage. I think maybe he needs to go back and reconfigure what he can do with that, and we'll just have to have some special sessions to get this accomplished.
Yeah, but all our special sessions isn't gonna move a contractor in there, or get 2 more walls going up, or, yes.
A possible, Ted and I kinda had a sidebar real quick, a possible solution, I don't know, Steve and I would have to do some more research. There's these, modular classrooms, I used to see them when I was stationed out in California all the time. It's like a mobile home almost, they're double wides, but they're more like a classroom, have a couple offices in them, and stuff like that. We could probably look at those. And kinda like Cameron mentioned, having a structure somewhere out there on the county land, and see how much it would cost to do one of those.
You can lease those, and you can get them pretty darn quick. Now,
But leasing
my
it,
Pizza King in Rossville is in one of those.
okay,
It was built in 1968, or it was bought in 68, when the tornado hit the old Moran School. They bought 6 of them for Rossville School Corporation. The one I had on is, one was last used as a superintendent's office. I check those about every 3 or 4 days on gov deals because they're for sale. Somehow it seems like most of them that are used that are for sale, and some of them are in great shape, they're only used a year or two and then they're ready to turn loose. Most of them are in the deep south or in Canada.
Right.
And very few around here, but there is, I know there is a place on the south side of Indianapolis where there's a dealer for them. And, I've just driven by, I've never been into it, but they can come in and, I think you're onto something here. They can be set up in just practically no time.
Right. It might be an alternative, and we could look at a layered security approach to it. I've got the 2 portable surveillance towers.
You got what?
The 2 portable surveillance towers that we got off the grant. We could use that for external security. Maybe erecting, we'd have to sit down and actually take a look at location out there on the manor grounds and stuff like that, to where it wouldn't interfere with any future jail project. Look at a location and stuff like that out there, where it'd be beneficial, where, if it would, but I also know the ground is leased right now. So,
Well, there's still grounds that can probably be leveled out at the manor where they used to have their garden next to the bull barn. Or they can hook into their well and their septic.
I think you guys are the geniuses of the whole thing here, but I think this is not gonna happen. I just can guarantee you that this isn't gonna happen by the first of the year, you know?
It really would be difficult.
It'd be very difficult, yeah. Where we're not in a situation that is that much different than a school corporation that suddenly says, we gotta have 6 new classrooms next year, and how we're gonna do it? Well,
Delphi did that, and, at Hillcrest one time, they had this portable little,
I remember that.
when I was in grade school, so it's been a while.
I think that was there when I talked there.
So would you be good with something like that, Mr. Mullen?
I appreciate the thought. Again, my concerns are, would be security, would be one of the main ones, but a building of that nature, it doesn't offer very much, security as far as someone being able to get inside. The doors are often not very secure. Cameras would be wonderful, it'd be great to have the surveillance, but unfortunately, surveillance is great, you can see what happened, not what the prevention
If we-
is.
but like I said, if we had the discussion of looking at doing a layered security approach to it, adding a fence line with the outriggers. Right. And stuff like that, you definitely slow it down.
What about right next to the jail? The parking lot?
There's nowhere
I
to
would
park
think
there now.
There's nowhere to really park. The jailers and staff park in that east parking lot that they have right now.
Why don't we have that parking lot down here?
We have a parking lot, we
The,
want,
the one parking lot that's down there, you got a residence that parks there. I've moved all my stuff out of there except for one trailer. And then there are county vehicles that do park down there already, so you need to eat that up right away. I mean, right now, the only property that would be out by the manor that I know of.
One other thing I'd be thinking about right away is, we need to have accessibility, I mean, as far as handicap accessibility to that building as well. Coming upstairs might not always work for every situation when we have people we need to talk to. You know, so having accessibility, whether it be a ramp or something like that would be probably very necessary. Because those buildings set up off the ground, usually, 2 feet, maybe?
about all of them are set up with a ramp on it.
So, those are my concerns.
The problem with an old building like across over here, or even if we were so lucky as to get this one over here, is they gotta have elevators. And there we're talking another $150,000-$200,000. That was always the problem with the RMC building, the old RMC, because it scares everybody. Well, we've sure beat this dog around for a while.
Do you still have the plans for the whole training room?
I do.
How big is this